Urologist warns, this food is irritating your prostate and causing urinary leaks. Have you been led to believe that feeling embarrassed, getting up 2, 3, or even 5 times a night to rush to the bathroom, or that treacherous little drop that escapes when you laugh, sneeze, or cough, is normal for any man after 50? That's a huge lie that's been sold to you as an inevitable fate. You've been convinced that the only real solution is to end up in an operating room or depend for life on pills that only mask the problem, when in reality, with small, simple actions and practical knowledge, you can regain control without submitting to any of that. Today, we're going to debunk that story that limits you, what lies behind that daily humiliation, that exhaustion you feel from not sleeping well, and that loss of confidence when you leave the house is much simpler than you imagine. And no, it's not bad luck, genetics, or just getting older. It has to do with what you choose to eat and drink. If lately your life revolves around searching for the bathroom everywhere you go, if you've already accepted that sleeping well is a thing of the past, and that embarrassment is your new companion, your social freedom has been stolen from you. What holds you back the most isn't the problem itself, it's the fear. Fear of surgery, fear of being permanently scarred by medication. But I want you to listen carefully because the solution lies in simplicity, in changing some habits that were never explained to you. What many specialists avoid telling you is that before thinking about surgery or medications that only mask the symptom, you need to examine what you're putting into your body. Your bladder is making a tremendous effort to function properly, but you, without realizing it, are irritating it every day with 5 things that I'll reveal in a moment. And here's the most common mistake, the one that almost all men make without knowing it. Assuming that if there's urinary leakage or constant urgency, the prostate is solely responsible. Let me be perfectly clear. An enlarged prostate, called benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, is indeed part of the problem because it compresses the urinary tract and forces your bladder to work harder. But if you add an overactive bladder to that pressure, caused by what you eat and drink, the result is a perfect storm that intensifies the embarrassment and discomfort. You're trying to fix the engine, the prostate, but you're still polluting the tank, your diet, with irritants that trigger the urge. You can't expect to solve this by only managing the prostate while continuing to consume the 5 triggers that overstimulate your bladder. So let's get straight to what can actually give you back control and your social freedom. These are the 5 irritants you need to eliminate or minimize. First, coffee, black tea, and the dark side of caffeine. The first step to freeing yourself from that sudden urge is to stop chemically punishing your bladder. That morning coffee or afternoon black tea are silent enemies you need to cut back on if you want to regain your peace of mind. Caffeine increases urine production and is one of the most aggressive irritants for the bladder. When you eliminate it, you give the muscle that controls urination a break, the one that's tense and overstimulated. Scientifically speaking, it's very simple. Caffeine has 2 harmful effects. First, it acts as a diuretic. It tells your kidneys to produce urine faster than normal, filling your bladder prematurely. It's like turning on a tap at full pressure. Second, and here's the key to the problem, it directly stimulates the bladder muscle, the same one that contracts to empty it, as if telling it, squeeze now, empty it now. Even when it's almost empty, it creates that urgent and desperate feeling. And the best part is that quitting caffeine gives the body an immediate command. Relax. Let me tell you about a patient I saw 3 months ago. I'll call him Ricardo, an architect, 65 years old, a steadfast, hard-working man who ended up resigning himself to the idea that his social life was behind him. His pain wasn't just physical, it was deeply emotional. He confessed to me that he avoided work meetings because he was terrified of having to run to the bathroom in the middle of a presentation. His words still resonate with me. Dr. Daniela Ramirez, the hardest part isn't urinating infrequently. It's getting up 4 or 5 times every night, just to release a few drops and go back to bed exhausted. Doctor, I feel like a child who has lost control of his own body. That's what Don Ricardo told me. his gaze lowered, ashamed of something that should never shame anyone. His biggest problem wasn't a serious and inevitable illness, as he thought. His real enemy was his 3 daily cups of espresso before noon and the sugar-free Coca-Cola he drank every afternoon as a reward to help him through the day. When I suggested she cut out caffeine, she looked at me as if I were asking her to give up her last refuge, with that silent fear of not being able to do it. Today, her advice to you would be the same. Don't underestimate the power your caffeine ritual has to keep you trapped in this problem. The key here is choosing simple alternatives. Swap that morning coffee for decaf, or better yet, for herbal infusions like chamomile or mint, which have a natural, relaxing effect on the nervous system and also on your bladder. The formula is simple and it works. Completely eliminate caffeine for 14 days. Give your body 2 clean weeks and observe the results. If the improvement is evident, as it is in more than 80% of cases, you could allow yourself half a cup a day, but never after noon. End each day knowing that your bladder is calm, relaxed, and ready to finally give you a night's uninterrupted sleep, so you can reclaim your rest and your dignity. Now let's move on to the second irritant: carbonated, fizzy, and sparkling drinks. That bubbly charm that seems harmless is one of the biggest hidden saboteurs of your bladder control. It doesn't matter if they're sugary, zero, diet, club soda, tonic water, or even sparkling mineral water. The bubbles are a constant enemy in this battle. By eliminating them, you free your body from the feeling of bloating and the pressure that builds up in your abdomen without you even noticing. The explanation behind this is a clear mix of basic physics and chemistry. The carbon dioxide that makes that fizz so appealing turns into gas inside your body, causing abdominal distension. This bloating puts immediate pressure on your bladder, as if someone were squeezing it from the outside. Imagine your bladder as a soft, sensitive balloon. If something presses on it, even if it's not full, it reacts by contracting as an automatic reflex. And if that drink also contains acids, like colas and sodas, you're directly irritating the inner lining of your bladder, making it more sensitive, more reactive, and more prone to leaks and sudden emergencies. Let me tell you about Carlos, a brilliant 58-year-old engineer, disciplined and health-conscious. He didn't drink coffee, avoided alcohol, walked every day, but he was addicted to fizzy drinks. He consumed up to 3 liters a day without realizing the internal damage he was causing. His pain was emotional and profound. He told me, his voice breaking, "Dr. Daniela Ramirez, I feel humiliated. I only leak when I do something as simple as getting up quickly from my chair or walking briskly. It shouldn't happen to me. I take care of myself." I explained that the gas in his body was like wearing an invisible belt that was too tight, pressing on his bladder for hours. When he eliminated all fizzy drinks, his improvement was almost immediate and transformative. His reflection now serves as a warning to all men. Gas is not harmless. It's a constant weight that relentlessly presses on your bladder. The solution is simple and restores your freedom. Go back to still water. If you find it boring, add slices of cucumber, melon, or apple, which also help maintain a more balanced urinary pH. Give your body a month without fizzy drinks, and you'll see how the internal pressure decreases, how your leaks are reduced, and how that sense of control you thought you'd lost returns. Let's move on to the third irritant: the acidity of citrus fruits and tomatoes. This is often the hardest to accept, especially for men who feel they're eating healthy. But what's healthy for some can be irritating to a sensitive bladder. We're talking about highly acidic foods like oranges, lemons, grapefruits, and tomatoes, which, although we see them as vegetables, are fruits loaded with acidity. You don't need to eliminate them forever if you don't want to, but you should drastically reduce your consumption if your bladder is already irritated. The science is simple. Your body tries to keep your urine within a balanced range of acidity, but when you consume too many acidic foods, like concentrated orange juice or spicy tomato sauces, some of that acidity ends up seeping into your urine, and highly acidic urine acts like a corrosive liquid that irritates the inner lining of your bladder. That irritation causes inflammation, and an inflamed bladder is an overactive bladder. It strains before it's full, wakes you up at night, forces you to constantly search for bathrooms, and betrays you without warning. I still remember Don Miguel, a kind 73-year-old retiree who lived in the countryside surrounded by nature. He grew his own tomatoes and picked oranges from his tree every morning. His life was simple and beautiful, except for one torment: he couldn't sleep. He would get up 6 times a night to urinate. When I told him that the origin of his problem could be, he was completely baffled when he discovered that his diet was based on those so natural and so healthy juices and salads. He replied sadly, "Doctor, all my life I thought my diet was perfect. How can something I grow myself be harmful?" His difficulty wasn't giving up those foods. It was accepting that natural isn't always best for everyone, especially when the bladder is sensitive. I asked him to substitute oranges with melon or pear, and to replace tomatoes with milder vegetables like zucchini or cucumber. 2 weeks later, his sleep had improved, and for the first time in years, he slept 5 hours straight. Don Miguel accepted the change and replaced oranges with mild fruits like squash, melon, or cucumber. Incredibly, in just 1 week, his nightly trips to the bathroom dropped from 6 to 2. His case demonstrates something essential. Sometimes what we consider healthy and natural can be the silent trigger that irritates a specific organ. The solution wasn't to complicate things, but to make intelligent substitutions. Avoid citrus juices, which concentrate acidity and harshly irritate your bladder lining, and severely limit tomatoes, especially in sauces and concentrates. If you want to enjoy fruit, choose low-acid options like bananas, melon, watermelon, or pears. And if you love sauces, try a delicious alternative: roasted red peppers or zucchini cooked slowly to add texture and flavor without irritation. Remember this: control comes when your urine stops being so aggressive on your bladder. Now let's move on to the fourth irritant, and I want you to pay close attention because this is the most underestimated enemy of male social freedom: alcohol, and beer in particular. I know this strikes an emotional chord because we're not just talking about a drink, but a social ritual, a symbol of friendship, connection, and relaxation. But if you truly want to regain control and sleep uninterrupted, you need to hear this. Beer is probably the worst enemy of an older man with urinary problems, and I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because I see it every day in my patients. The science behind alcohol's harmful effects is a double whammy aimed directly at your bladder. First, it acts as a powerful diuretic, even faster than caffeine. Alcohol blocks the hormone that helps you retain fluids, forcing your kidneys to produce urine as if you were revving an engine to the limit. Your bladder fills up rapidly, far exceeding its normal capacity. But the second effect is even more insidious. Alcohol numbs your central nervous system, interfering with the signals your bladder sends when it's full. It's like turning off the alarm just before the glass overflows. And the most delicate part, it relaxes the sphincter, the muscle responsible for keeping urine inside. Result: full bladder plus relaxed sphincter equals leaks, urgency, and embarrassment. So why is beer worse than a hard drink? Because it combines the diuretic effect of alcohol with a large volume of cold liquid. It's practically a direct shot of urgency into your system. I want you to hear the story of Roberto, a 60-year-old man who loved meeting up with his friends every Saturday. It was his time to disconnect, to laugh, to feel alive. But his constant trips to the bathroom and his minor accidents began to cause him anxiety, so much so that he started making excuses not to go. He told me, his voice trembling, "Dr. Daniela Ramirez, it's not the alcohol, it's what it means to me. I don't want to lose my friends, but I also don't want to be embarrassed." Roberto's real pain wasn't physical, it was emotional. He felt he was losing his identity. I suggested something simple but transformative: replacing beer with mineral water or very mild, low-acid juices. When he returned for his appointment, his face said it all. He told me that the first night without beer was difficult, but he drank 3 bottles of water with just a few drops of lemon. His surprise? That night, he only had to get up once to go to the bathroom. And most importantly for him, he enjoyed the get-together, laughed, talked, without fear. He discovered something powerful. Friendship doesn't depend on alcohol. Control, dignity, and social freedom are too high a price to pay for a drink. The key here is clear. If you want to sleep soundly and reclaim your social life without fear, simplicity lies in abstinence, especially at night. If you decide to drink occasionally, do so early and choose smaller options, like a small glass of red wine, but never on an empty stomach. Even so, ideally, if your goal is to transform your sleep, it should be zero alcohol. My clinical recommendation is firm. Cut out alcohol after 6 p.m. The reward? Being able to sleep up to 8 hours straight. And that, my friend, is freedom in its purest form. Now we come to the fifth irritant, a double but deadly category for your bladder: artificial sweeteners and spicy foods. This is where many fall into a modern trap. Light, zero, or sugar-free products seem like a smart solution, but they're often loaded with artificial sweeteners that sabotage your efforts. This is the enemy disguised as healthy. Both capsaicin, the compound that gives spicy food its characteristic heat, and sweeteners like aspartame, saccharin, or sucralose have the ability to inflame and directly stimulate the nerve endings in your bladder's protective lining. It's like throwing a lit match into a pot of gasoline. Very spicy foods, like an intense curry, hot wings, or a chili pepper loaded with pepper, leave residues that your body eliminates through urine, and that urine carries the irritation directly to your bladder. The same thing happens with artificial sweeteners. They are molecules that your body doesn't recognize as natural. The result is a silent but constant chemical attack. A sensitive bladder perceives these substances as an attack and responds with inflammation, urgency, and that feeling of, "I can't hold it." These substances, though small, have devastating power when your bladder is already irritated. You're looking for the healthiest option when you choose a sugar-free soda, but unknowingly, you're buying irritation in a bottle. It's that ironic. What seemed like the smart choice to take care of your health or weight is actually a silent enemy of your bladder. The practical key is to go back to basics. Read labels. If you see aspartame, acesulfame K, sucralose, or saccharin, pass. If you need to sweeten, use natural sugar in moderation or gentler alternatives like pure stevia or a touch of honey, but always in moderation. Your goal isn't to fill yourself with sweetness, but to avoid chemical aggression to your bladder. As for spiciness, I know that for many, it's an important part of flavor, culture, and the pleasure of eating. But if you want to regain control, you need to turn down the heat you put on your dishes. Cut back on cayenne pepper, chili peppers, chili powder, or that extra kick that makes your tongue sweat, because it also makes your bladder burn from the inside. Replace that intensity with fresh herbs that provide aroma, flavor, and health: cilantro, parsley, basil, turmeric, thyme, or rosemary. You'll be surprised to discover that you don't need to burn yourself to enjoy a delicious dish. The recommended dose is clear: total elimination of artificial sweeteners and a reduction of spiciness to the point where your body doesn't experience burning or irritation. The reward for this change is beautiful: a calm bladder without inflammation, and that much-desired control over the sensation of emptying. You will literally feel inner peace. Now that you know the 5 irritants that sabotage your well-being, I have to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable, but it's necessary for your transformation. Don't fall into a victim mentality, nor into the naive hope of a magic solution. No diet, no revolutionary supplement, and not even the most advanced surgery will work without a real commitment to yourself. This isn't a path to perfection, it's a path of daily decisions. Simplicity lies not only in what you stop consuming, but also in the attitude with which you embrace change. You must ignore that inner voice that tells you, "I'm too old to change," or "it's too difficult." That voice isn't true. It's the mental prison that keeps you trapped in a problem that does have a solution. Your consistency is the muscle that will make these strategies work. Control and social freedom aren't regained through wishful thinking, but through small daily acts of discipline. Your mind must be your ally, not your jailer. We've walked this path of clarity, understanding, and simplicity together so you can regain control of your bladder and live again without fear, shame, or interruptions. You've already seen that this silent humiliation and these broken nights aren't an inevitable fate, but the direct result of 5 toxic habits. 1. Coffee and caffeine that agitate your bladder as if it were on permanent alert. 2. Carbonated drinks that press on your abdomen like a constant fist. 3. Citrus fruits and tomatoes that make your urine acidic like a stinging detergent. 4. Alcohol, especially beer, that fills your bladder at lightning speed and numbs the muscle that should hold your urine. And 5. Artificial sweeteners and spicy foods that irritate your bladder as if scratching it from the inside. Don't ignore this information. Don't normalize what steals your life. Don't continue living with this shame that limits you, silences you, and isolates you. I, Dr. Daniela Ramirez, want to see you regain control of your nights, your meetings, your trips, your freedom to go out without thinking about a bathroom. I want you to feel in control of your body and your life again. Now I ask you for a small but powerful act of honesty with yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror, without excuses, and identify which of these 5 things is the hardest for you to let go of. That one, precisely that one, is the one that has the most control over you. And it's the first one you must confront. And now, respond with a real commitment. Tell me what day, starting tomorrow, you're going to begin reducing or eliminating at least one of them. Not as a favor to me, but as an act of love for your own body, your rest, and your dignity. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to take control," because that will be the first step toward your newfound freedom.